Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Hey, psst, you. Yeah, you out there listening. Are you still there? Is anybody still out there? This is Beacon House Podcast. Do you remember us? It's been a long time. It has been a very long time since we have talked with you. Are you guys still there? Well, I mean, I guess if you're listening, you are still there. So we'll just call that a win. Hey, this is your host, Spence, from the Beacon House Podcast. And I want to start out apologizing. We've been gone for so long. Things are hard to do. Schedules are crazy. It's an election year. There's a heat wave, all that crap. And I'm back real quick to talk to you guys. And I've got a very, very special guest host with me today, who ironically was on the last episode about a million years ago. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former Beacon House host and singer of Burn the City, Hunter Barnhart is here, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought you were about to say former Burn the City singer. Yeah. I was bracing for bad news.
Yeah, got that Lumiverse over, now you're fired. Which, yeah, man, I got to tell you, like, I do want to say, like, I know we were like, there's no point in talking about the Lumiverse thing. Like, you know, like since the last Beacon House podcast, we did finish our Band journey. We came in second place, which we were thrilled to place that high. We didn't think we'd get nearly that far. It was like second place out of like 65 bands, 9 months. I mean, it's just bonkers. First place went to King Ghoul. And they were so cool. So if those guys are out there listening anywhere, dude, we absolutely love you guys. And I know you love us too, because you talked good about us to my friends at the pub, and we think the world of you guys. So it was really, really cool. But I just want to give Hunter credit. Eventually you'll be able to see this online. But Hunter, during the very last song, there was a guitar solo, and I had to play it, so I was real focused on it. I was nervous, and I went up to the front, and I didn't realize behind me, he had gone behind the amplifiers and ran and jumped up on the drum riser and started banging on the drums during the solo. And like, I mean, I would have not taken a chance like that live. You know, of course, I'm old and fucked up, and I had knee surgery like a week later. But bravo to you, sir.
I appreciate that. It actually was. It was funny hearing you guys talk about it after, because in the moment I didn't see any of the tripping hazards that you were talking about. But of course, logically, they were all there. But you guys are all like, including Dylan, were like, I would never have done that because there's so many chords. Like you were,
oh my god,
you were. It was miraculous that you didn't just knock your teeth out on the stage or something.
I just
split your head open.
When I saw the video of it, I imagined myself trying to run back there with all the chords and the chaos and the guitar cases and like microphone cables and stands, and like I wouldn't have made it past the first amplifier. And you ran the whole gauntlet like you were going to do the long jump, and I was just like, man. But anyway, we're thrilled, and I'm somebody can fact check this, but I'm told that altogether, probably since the beginning, but we raised over $10,000 for Young Williams Animal Center.
Oh, nice. Pays to be an animal in this world.
That apparently so. But at any rate, I wanted to welcome Hunter back on the show and congratulate you on your stellar performance at Band Eat Band.
I appreciate that. You were as well very good. I was very proud of everyone's performance. Randy, who is our quiet kind of cerebral assassin, as I've called him in that one article before, he was boogieing a lot harder than normal even. So
he made the best impression on the winners, on King Ghoul. Well, apparently later they said the highlight of Burn the City was Randy. I remember because I texted you guys. I said, "Well, we're just just Randy's backup band now."
That's right. We'll have words with them when we have a show together. Then.
But anyway, man, I figured it was time to. We've been trying to get together to do one of these for a while. Haven't been able to get together. Grace has been out of town, and she couldn't make it tonight either. So shout out Grace. Shout out everybody. Sorry we've been away so long. We hope that this finds you well. I don't know if it will.
Well, hopefully. But
if you've been watching the news,
many opportunities to get together have whizzed right by our heads, and Much like something else that happened this past weekend.
I see what you did there.
I appreciate it.
I see what you did.
Whiz, not as in P.
Thank you for clarifying that, Hunter.
These are the moments that you're glad that you invite me back. Anyways.
Are they though? Are they? So I mean, dude, where are you at? Like, let's just put it out there on the table. Like, and maybe we can wrap up near the end of this by talking about some cool movies or something. But like, I mean, look, it's an election year, and it is the most bonkers election race that personally I've ever seen. Maybe going back to like before we get, obviously there was an assassination attempt, and we're going to get into that. And I know everybody's all over the place about it, and we're not going to tell you how to feel or anything, but just to kind of, I think what I'd like to do with this is just to sort of zoom out and put it into perspective, just kind of frame all this shit in.
Yeah, do it.
Because I mean, okay, let's go back to the debate. So,
yep,
the debate was train wreck.
The likes of which I've never seen before.
Never seen it. And I don't know if people started to reissue videos of like, older debates, or if it just started to come up in the algorithm. I don't know who decided to show it to me, but my phone and my computer started showing me debates from the past, like Kennedy Nixon, like Reagan Mondale, like just
Gore and W for me too.
Yeah. And man, like they were all just
boring.
But they were just so mature.
Yeah.
And I remember then being told by the news, like just like Butch Walker says, the TV told me so, But like back then being told like, oh, it was a mess. It was like, but they seemed so calm and so on point, and they stayed on topic. And like, I mean, yeah, maybe they were fucking lying and inflating the economy and causing wars and drone strikes. Look, I get it. However,
we were all happier though.
Well, I mean, you could just watch it on TV without having to like feeling like you were sick or you had food poisoning. This fucking debate, on the other hand, like what you go? What was your takeaway? I mean, like, I was mortified. I was just like, I couldn't believe, and it was not for me. It was not all Biden and his cognitive decline. I mean, like,
oh no, yeah,
dude, like I could not believe how fucking childish and petty like Trump was, and like wouldn't answer the questions, and told, I think they had somebody doing like a lie counter, and the guy lied like just like
28 times,
so many fucking times, like per minute. It was just like,
it was strange because it was the biggest thing for me was the cognitive decline, because I think
it was like getting splinters while being insulted over and over again. And like,
if you have eyes, then you know that the media has been lying to us about Biden's condition for years. So that having that confirmed was frustrating, but to see that it was actually as bad as it was terrifying. Because all I could think was, this dude has the nuclear codes, which I know is everyone's big go-to, but it's a fair go-to.
Well, and one of my, one of the people that I have always supported and looked up to, Tulsi Gabbard. We talked about her a million times on here. And I know she's not everybody's cup of tea. I know not everybody's a fan, but like, she pointed out after that Biden had made a comment that like the only existential threat to humanity is the environment. And she was like, what about nuclear war, buddy? What about like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, Biden also said the thing about, while he was in charge, we've not lost any American lives.
Also untrue.
Yeah. But to get to the Trump part of it, I was also frustrated because talking to my conservative friends after the debate, everyone's focus was Biden, just like, shockingly, the mainstream media. But I guess at that point you couldn't deny it anymore. Anyways, it still felt
anytime like the media is almost always pro-liberal.
Oh, sure.
Which I'm not saying, I'm not trying to do tinfoil hat, but like anytime you see the media like not getting behind the left, like I feel like there's a setup coming. Like,
sure.
I think I told you all the criticism he got from the left and the media was like, oh, that's just, they're going to replace him. Like, they're just cushioning the impact here.
Oh, sure. I don't think that'll help even them at this point, but we'll get to that. The thing with Trump that really pissed me off was a thing that I have liked about him from the get-go. And just to set the record, I don't care really, but just to be clear, like, I've never voted for him.
Same. I haven't either.
Just because I know I'm about to compliment him, which is a faux pas, I guess. Anyways.
Not on this podcast, buddy.
That's right.
You can say whatever the fuck you want. This is the land of honesty right here. This is the truth. We seek the truth here on Beacon House.
Slow down, Superman. I have always admired, at least in that first election cycle, that he answered questions. And people were always angry because they didn't like his answers and blah, 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 and all that nonsense. And that's all fine and well. That's nuance. But I found refreshing the fact that he would just answer a question just straight. And despite all the trouble that got him in. And I was so frustrated because while Biden's cognitive decline was terrifying and also sad, for those of us that have seen people do that in our own families, it's horrifying.
Sure, 100%. And mine, honestly, look, I'm not a Biden supporter either. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely not a Kamala Harris supporter. No offense to anybody if you like her. Like, I think if you look at her records, but particularly in California, you'll see why I don't like her. But
she's a weak man.
But you're killing me. You're not wrong. Anyway, but like, man, like just the shots at the cruelty over this guy that they've got propped up. Like, it's hard for me to watch them being cruel
100%.
to Biden about his condition. Like I feel like even in the debate, you even saw a little bit of Trump kind of looking at him, feeling sorry for him.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one who saw that. Like, a lot of people go, you almost saw like a hint of compassion with Trump, you know,
yeah,
like
same. But yeah, it was the fact, I'm sure I'm wrong, but it felt to me like Trump didn't answer a single question. And I don't even mean with a lie. I know people say he lied a lot, and that's fine. But again, it felt like everything he said was a deflection from answering a question.
Definitely.
And that pissed me off.
An exaggeration to the point where every single thing, all he did was talk about when he was in office before. Mm-hmm. And every single thing that he brought up, he would say, well, we had the greatest in history. It was the best in history, or it's the worst in history. Like, his exaggerations go so far past the point of reason that he's not even citing specific facts or anything.
No, yeah.
He's literally just running off the mouth, making shit up, and then inflating it to the point where, like, I just don't see how anybody rational goes, this guy sounds a little, you know what I mean? To me, he didn't sell it.
No, sure. I mean, agreed. And I guess to close on that, I mean, as a comparison, at the very least, I would far prefer inflated dialogue over inflated prices. So I don't like either of them, really. Controversially, I'll just go ahead and say, given what happened this past weekend, I do like Trump more than I did after that assassination attempt. That was, and of course, you know, it's the indelible image of him with his fist in the air and blood on his face and all that stuff. Like, that's just hard not to like, even if you don't like him. And
it was definitely really striking. And like, I mean, my first inclination, again, not being a supporter of his, but to just see like a guy come that close to death, and then the vitriol. Now, again, I know that turns a lot of people off, and I'm not promoting it, and I'm not even justifying it, but those images will be burned into like history books and social media for the next 100 years. Like,
as they should be, though.
Mega historical event. Like, and a lot of people think it was staged. Some people think it's fake. I mean, of course they do. Yeah, of course they do. But I didn't really see. I mean, it looked legit to me.
Yeah, it looked really legit. I think the small glimpses we've gotten into kind of the huddle of Secret Service agents on top of him speak to at least the legitimacy that I see in it, in as much as he looks literally shocked to the point of being unemotive. Like, his face is as cold as ever, but his eyes are like glazed over, and he's just staring off into the distance, being surrounded by people, and there's blood on him. And it's like, I don't know how he would react if he got shot, but that seems like a justified reaction.
There's like a mic on him too, where you can hear him saying like, let me get my shoes, or like, and then he goes, wait, but he's speaking in like almost like a whisper voice, which is, I've just never heard this guy talk like that. So like, it was like a glimpse of like a different person, not the person you see on TV. Not saying, oh, he's a really great guy behind closed doors. I'm not saying that. I'm not definitely not saying that. I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of reasons to hate this guy. But there was just something, the minute that shot rang out, something was different. And I don't even know how to quantify that. But there was something going on. Something was different. And I guess, man, I didn't realize it at the time. I got a text from our one of our previous very, very frequent guests, Jordan Shipley, who, Jordan, if you're listening, Jordan's up in Baltimore now, and we hope you're doing well. And she was the first person to reach out to me, and she said, hey, somebody shot at Trump. And I was like, what? And I was driving, so I had to wait till I got home. And of course, you can't get away from it now.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I was blown away. Like I didn't think, I don't know. And how it went down.
Yeah.
Like that building, and people spotted the guy with the gun, and they said, hey, there's a guy over here with a gun. And
so that's that problem with the whole situation, though, because like all of that lends credence and plenty of strength to arguments on both sides for it being a setup, one way or the other. Just to be fair to those people, because I think you're all wrong. But to be fair, it begs the question: how are there, at least that I saw, 3 snipers, and they're all on 2 buildings next to Trump, but nobody's on the building with a direct line of sight across the street? How did a 20-year-old with a rifle get into that building and up there in the first place? Why did the police and Secret Service not respond sooner, given that there's video evidence now, multiple clips of like dozens of people screaming there's a guy with a gun on the roof from the ground? And I know there's been new evidence. Like something new I heard today was that a police officer apparently did confront him on the roof, and I heard conflicting reports there about the police officer fell right before the shots went off. I also heard that he turned the gun at the cop, and the cop freaked out and ran. All of which to say, like, we're recording this like 3 days after the fact, or 2 days after the fact. So there's a lot that will come out later. But
I'm sure there's going to be so much analysis. There's going to be so much like people are going to be diagramming how it happened. I mean, there's going to be a lot of blame. There's going to be statements from like the local authorities, and I've already seen buzzwords, and there's just so much. You've talked before about 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah,
we can't get away from it. But we've like
how evil it is. You mean?
Well, like everything just goes flying by. But I've already seen people being critical of like the Secret Service and like just there's always blame. It's weird when these things happen. There's so much blame, and I do understand that, particularly in issues of like public safety.
Sure,
when a bullet rings out and somebody dies. Like, yeah, dude, like.
Shout out Corey, by the way. I don't want to say the last name just because I know I can't pronounce it, but the firefighter that died.
That jumped in front of his family,
yeah,
from my understanding.
Through them. I read his daughter's statement, which was heartbreaking, but she said that no one's ever going to know how fast he threw her and her mom to the ground. And if you've seen the ER doctor that was talking about it, he's the guy who had his brains blown out. Which I guess is crass way to describe that. I don't mean to be, but it's what happened, and
I think it's okay to say it that way because
it's what happened.
It paints a clear picture of the horror. Yeah,
and I don't know if it's true or not, but I've always wondered who that really high pitched scream is, because in all the footage everyone watches, there's all those shots that go off, and then there's that really blood curdling scream that cuts out across all the others. Apparently, that was the daughter.
Jesus,
after realizing that her dad was dead. So yeah, I was actually very angry with media coverage across the board too, because we all knew that someone was dead and no one was talking about who it was or what happened. And Breaking Points, which is my preferred news program,
same,
the one I watch the most, but not exclusively, everybody, they were the first people that broadcast that I saw who he was. Anyways, and then someone else is critically injured. Not especially for the Secret Service or NSA, if you guys wind up listening to this, not in any way trying to defend the shooter. That's also a clearly disturbed 20-year-old young man who also is now dead. So to be unpopular, I think that's tragic too.
No, and I was literally about to jump in and go, when you said that young man is also dead, which by the way also qualifies as a tragedy. Mm-hmm. Not because he didn't deserve it, or not because people don't have to be protected, or not because it's not the right thing to do to shoot an active shooter. None of those reasons. It's just when you have a 20-year-old person that loses their life in a violent, like, menagerie of confusion and misguided vitriol and those types of things, it's tragic.
Yeah, and that actually gets to the thing you were bringing up about the 24-hour news cycle anyways, which you and I have talked about before recording. That my call out is, regardless of what we find out at the end of the day, the unequivocally the actual villain here, not exclusive bad guy for our listeners, but the actual arch villain of this is mainstream media, conservative and liberal. If this guy was 20 and you do the math, and that means he was roughly 10 or 11 shortly before Trump entered the race in a big bad way in 2015, and means that in his most impressionable years, which science is borne out, adolescence and all that, was according to a witness I saw today as well that went to school with him, was horrifically bullied and grew up in the toxic 24-hour news cycle, toxic on a level that none of us had ever seen before in the Trump era and post-Trump era. And I think there needs to be also an investigation while defending free speech into the culpability of major corporations and media outlets for pushing such vitriol itself, and, you know, the punch a Nazi or the grab her by the pussy, or which I know specifically Trump, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, I can't imagine, and now that, you know,
or just always comparing him to Hitler.
Yeah, that's what I like. I have nieces and a nephew, and they're younger, but they're roughly in that age range, and I'm just sitting here now going like, what has the media done to warp the minds of people that were that young at that time? Like,
yeah, and to see something like this as a solution, I totally agree, man. And here's what's weird. I heard, and again, by the time this airs, this could be debunked, or this may be a whole new level of evidence here.
Yeah, this episode title is Grain of Salt. Sorry.
I heard that the guy had almost no social media presence at all, which is weird for a 20-year-old not to have an Instagram account or a TikTok or a Facebook or Snapchat or something like that. This guy was almost untraceable online, unless he had been planning this for a long time, was trying to be anonymous.
That's the thing that horrifies me to think about, because they've been saying that, and it's so far proving true, and it begs the question, one, was he just somehow so bullied that he didn't even think it was worth it, which I can't imagine, but is certainly possible, or the darker thought of, like, has he been planning this so long that he knew not to have a social media presence?
Very dark to think that. And
that's terrifying.
Very terrifying. And beyond that, the guy had been affiliated, just like you pointed this out earlier. You said that he was 20 years old, so he technically wasn't old enough to vote in any election yet.
Yeah.
But he was previously affiliated with both parties. Like, he originally donated to the Democratic Party and then registered as a Republican. Is that correct?
As far as everybody knows so far, that's proven true at the moment.
So the guy wasn't like a lifelong card-carrying, like, anti-anything. Like he was kind of back and forth.
Yeah, it's...
Not that motive justifies horrific action. Again, not saying that to anybody. I want to be very clear here with, like, you know...
Yeah, I don't think we're just, in clarity's sake, neither one of us is justifying any violent action that was taken. But
this is kind of stream of consciousness. This is supposed to sort of reflect us sort of just processing all this stuff, just like everyone else in America and the world is doing today, that they were doing yesterday. They're going to be doing the rest of the week. Here in a couple of days, we have the Republican National Convention, which Trump is going to speak at. I think that'll be probably the first time. I mean, he's issued a couple statements, but that's going to be the first time anybody really hears him talk since this went down.
And that actually gets to a thing that you also brought up before we recorded, and we were talking about that, like, to get to the return to the thing I said about, like, liking Trump more. That doesn't necessarily mean I like him, but the strength displayed in being angry and defiant after having been shot is just admirable, regardless of who the person is. You don't have to admire the person. That strength is admirable. The other thing is the statements that he's been putting out seem far more genuinely sincere and gentle and intention and intending to promote peace and unity and to tone down rhetoric and violent talk.
And I saw that too. And it's, I know you are interested in seeing things like that. I'm interested in seeing things like that. I don't think him and Biden are going to be best buds, but I did hear that Biden contacted him after and checked in on him, and they buried the hatchet for a minute. And I'd give anything to know what that conversation sounded like. Because if you nearly get shot and your enemy calls you to say, "Hey, man, I'm glad I know we've," I just feel like that's. And dude, it might have all been for show. Who knows? Who knows the level of actual sincerity that occurs in the political sphere or in the manipulation of power? Like, there's so much above us that we will never see. But on the surface, like, that's the olive branch that I always want to see. That's the people coming together. I just always want to see the people overcoming their differences, and everybody wants to see that happy ending. We're probably never going to get it, But supposedly they talked.
Right. And if those things play out and then stay consistent through the election cycle, count me happy camper at that point, because my biggest fear is that this is just the emotional reaction to an immediate scare that'll be gone in like 2 weeks.
Well, and supposedly, and dude, it's just after the way the guy, again, I think back to that fucking debate. And I just, after the way Trump acted at that fucking debate, dude, like I just can't get excited about like him having a big epiphany or change of character. I just can't see it happening. But supposedly the statement he issued, he said that he has rewritten his whole speech for the RNC and it's no longer just all bashing Biden. Instead, it's about unity. And he mentioned that he feels like, you know, he said that he was saved by God and now he's going to speak to the nation about the moment that we're all living in.
Yeah,
so,
and I mean that's the thing. Like,
sounds good, but I mean,
we'll see. And I would have been cynical about that before, but given that he came within millimeters of dying and was apparently his head turn was 0.3 seconds before the bullet went off, that's the thing that has me convinced that it might be real, because I've thought that his pro-evangelical stuff was just to get the evangelical base on board for all these years.
Because he does a lot of not really Christian things.
Yeah.
You know,
but if you're going to have a moment where you maybe rethink everything, an actual come to Jesus moment, having a bullet go through your ear is, you know, something that would spurn that on. And to give credit to Biden, he's also been promoting tone down the rhetoric, let's cool everything down and be peace, and remember when we disagree, we're not enemies, blah, blah, blah. The thing that will make me sound like a bitter old man that I just want to say about that is I hope that these are genuine on both sides, and I hope that they bear out like we've just said. It does, however, piss me off that it took this to get there, because we've been saying for years that we need to chill and stop pretending that people that we disagree with are our enemies. If you go back and listen to Old Beacon House when I was on all the time during the riots and everything else, I did say some pretty terrible things in the interest of humor, but also I think a consistent through line was we need to not be burning down neighborhoods. We need to let everybody protest uninterrupted, not however riot. We need to stop calling Republicans Nazis. We need to stop calling liberals, communists, socialists. We need to stop also pretending that a political identity is the same as a human identity. And, you know, if we're going to be the marketplace of ideas and the quote-unquote city on the hill that, you know, we arguably might have been after World War II to most of the world, if we're going to be the great country that we're supposed to be, then we never should have gotten to the point that we were at in the first place. And that is also mainstream media culpability. Political parties on both sides also culpable, because at that point they're going, well, the way to get numbers and eyeballs
is to play to your fan base, and the fan base is so divided and they're so angry and they're so violent, and they need somebody to blame. And just like you said, you can attribute that, I think, to the 24-hour news cycle and the changing of like all the information, the influx of information, social media, regular media, the popular media, whatever.
Yep.
If you know, I saw a thing recently where somebody said, if you look at history, like one of the most defining moments in our modern life was the Industrial Revolution. That's when roughly like people that were agriculturalists made up about 50% of the American populace. It went down to 1% after that. Yep. Nobody was farming anymore because of the Industrial Revolution. And it said the next one was not even a world war. It was not even the internet. It was 2008 smartphone. Paired up, coupled with social media, which was already cooking. If you remember, we had social media before we had the iPhone. We had MySpace.
2005, I think, roughly.
So people were already addicted to seeing themselves online, to having all of their thoughts posted, to being like automatically, synthetically famous. You know, like you could type a thing and then post it, and it would go all over the internet, and people had to read it. That feeling of power was so addictive to so many people that by the time the phone dropped and Facebook was the app, I mean, we're off to the races, man. Like, we didn't have a chance. And so now you get into that much information, and it got even shorter. Now it's reels. Now it's clips. Now it's tiny, like TikToks, and it's 3 seconds, and just like boom, 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 boom. There's no nuanced conversation anymore. But So what the politicians do is they play to their fan base.
Yep.
And if the fan base is super violent and mad, and then they act. I feel like Trump's been playing to his fan base for a long time because he's got people all around him going, "Hey, man, just play to your fan base. They're gonna, our numbers are gonna. I mean, you're 50%, they're 48%, but we'll win. But you gotta. They want you to be that guy. They want you to be that guy.
Same with Biden. Not able to string a sentence together, but still.
I know.
You know.
And look, I know I said I don't want to see anybody pick on an elderly man, but there was. Did you see the clip where he was holding a press conference and he introduced the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, as Putin.
Yeah.
And then he goes, bravest man I've met, the president of Ukraine, Putin. And then he turned around and he went, Putin. Like somebody else
He defended it by saying that he was so focused on beating Putin that he just had Putin on the mind, which begs the question, if you're that focused on beating Putin, then where's the energy that you're supposedly having for this existential threat named Donald Trump? And also, why are you focused on beating somebody that we aren't directly involved in a war with?
Listen, I wouldn't...
Unless we are, and you're just lying about it.
Nothing happened to him. He's safe. Like, it didn't cause anything. I wouldn't make fun of it if there had been an unfortunate consequence. But if you want to Google it or watch the video, the look on his face when he starts to step away from the mic and then he goes, Putin!
Yeah, it's hilarious.
His eyes get real big. I mean, so anyway, and then he turned around and he introduced his vice president, Kamala Harris, as Trump. And so I saw a meme of like Kamala Harris shaking hands with Zelensky, and she was like, "Hi, I'm Vice President Trump," and he goes, "Hi, I'm Putin." Look, we say it in jest. I realize that there's a lot of people. And listen, let me give a shout out here too. Like, I have a whole lot of really liberal friends. And they're very smart, very, very, very wise, very smart people. And they don't give a shit about Joe Biden's fucking bridge work, his speech impediment. They don't care. They're talking about the big fucking blue, dude. They're here because they want reproductive health.
Yeah.
They don't want anybody telling them what they can do with their fucking bodies. They don't want somebody forcing them to like take classes and outlaw abortion and they have to go to another state and it happens anyway because they understand, like I've said before too. And you know, the thing is, I think even in the debate, both of the candidates said, look, nobody wants late-term abortions. Yeah. Nobody does. And I get that. But like I've said before on the show, like regardless of what your moral positioning is on an issue like abortion, it's not going away. It's going to be there. It's either going to be legal or it's going to be illegal. And if it's illegal, it's dangerous. And like a lot of people have a lot of reasons. And this is actually one thing Biden said in the debate where I was like, wait a minute. Hey, I think I agree with that. Trump said, you know, we gave it back to the states. We gave the rights back to the states. And Biden said, well, some things you don't want to put in the hands of the state. He goes, what if we gave the civil rights to the states? Yeah. You decide if it's okay to drink from the same water fountain as like a person of color. You can vote on that in Alabama, and we're going to do it different. No, some things need to be unequivocal across the board.
Yeah, agreed.
Like there are certain things you don't want to just give back to the states. And because I have a lot of... I have very libertarian leanings, very anti-government, very small government, but get it out of the fucking government, get it off Capitol Hill, get it back to like local government. A lot of people were talking about let the decisions, marriage, abortion, let's get that stuff back to the states. And then I don't know if I believe that anymore. Honestly, man, like I feel like I want the government out of those decisions altogether, but the only way to get everybody out of it is just to uphold them. If you want to get an abortion, don't. If you want to marry somebody gay, don't. You know, like I just think anything that makes us less free is bad. But I did notice during the debate, I was like, wait a second, like, he actually made a good point there. And there was one tiny moment where Trump stopped blithering, and he was talking about they were talking about the abortion issue still. Yeah, and he said, well, actually, I support like the right to choose. And I do believe in exception, like in cases of like violence or rape or what. He goes, I'm not a full on like late terms or what. Like he goes, no, I definitely support a woman's right to choose and for exception. I just wanted it to be done at the state level. But so he actually kind of went in like pro-choice for a second, and pro-productive health and like all that kind of stuff. Like I don't know, man. Like they both kind of had this moment, and then it just devolved into them talking
golf swings,
fucking golf game.
Yep,
that's scary. So, like, dude, I get it. I get why. I'm not one of these people that goes, I can't see how you would possibly vote for Joe Biden. Like, if you were to go, hey, he's a great speaker, I'd be like, no, I'm not sure what your perception, but the idea that you don't want the red wave in the office because of your personal freedoms, I fucking get it. And that's why I think this unity, like, it's going to have to be something that kind of works for everybody, like it's going to have to be way more centrist.
No, agreed. But I mean, at the same time, and I just, listeners, please forgive me. It's just the current climate that has this on the liberal side. It's not an anti-liberal statement in my heart. I think some of the movements that we saw in 2019 and 2020, that amount of outcry and protest would have been helpful when Joe Biden was getting nominated in the first place. He was already on the decline in 2020. To be fair, it was nowhere near as bad as it is now. My grandmother died at 96 from a brain bleed in 2017. And just the week before, talking to her, she was crippled because she was 96, but she was miles more cogent and able to have a normal conversation than this guy is. So, vote for who you want to come November, but the point is not to be anti-liberal, but to say, like, we need to do something about the leadership stances that we have in the first place and the things that we accept as a people. Biden should never have been accepted in the first place. Cognitive decline is too great, and again, he's in charge of nuclear codes, which is genuinely terrifying. That is an existential threat. And on the abortion issue, to like take it away from who's president, but to also, kind of harp on that point again. At the moment, anti-liberal, or Democrat, I should say, but just because this is where that ball landed, I'd say the same thing if it was Republican. Spencer knows this at least. But with the abortion thing, like those are justified concerns, and I think, given if we're going to be a free country, then people had every right to be upset or celebratory when all that went down. You need to ask yourselves why you're voting for a party that allowed it to be used as a weapon that they could punt down the line to every election instead of codifying it in law when there was a supermajority where they could have done it and Republicans could have done nothing to stop it.
Damn.
And that's just the Democrats are guilty of that in this case. If it were the Republicans, I'd say the same thing. But all that to say, like, we need to...
That is true. It could have been codified.
Honest, whoever's in charge, and regardless of the party that they're in. I personally love RFK Jr. right now above all the other choices, but I hate his stance on Israel. So,
well, he's got a few things that are a little bonkers to me too.
Well, I agree with the no vaxxing. Like, let's get rid of vaccines. I am kidding, everybody, by the way. But anyways, go.
Dude, well, so you can look up again. We're hyper focused on this assassination thing now, but if somebody does choose to go back and actually like look at the debate, you can watch another version of the debate.
Oh yeah.
I think it's called RFK. You go on YouTube, it's like RFK, the real debate. But anyway, they get RFK up there, and they still show the whole debate between Trump and Biden, but then they pause and they give him a crack at all the questions, or a crack to like critique their answers. And in a lot of them, you'll find out some pretty interesting things. Like he'll say, actually, like when they're talking about cutting taxes, like Biden kind of borrowed the Bernie rhetoric. Biden went, he goes, we're just going to make the rich pay their fair share of taxes, and they'll solve everything. And Trump goes, no, we're not. We're going to put tariffs, and we're going to screw all these other countries over. That'll solve everything. And then in this video, it pauses, and RFK goes, actually, they both raised taxes during their term, and they both created massive inflation in their term. And actually, they both did these. Like, he kind of calls them out for like, what they really are. And his answers were pretty measured and even. I'm not saying the guy's perfect. I'm not saying he's...
Oh, no, yeah.
But if you're still... I mean, before, up until this assassination thing, that's going to change the landscape of the whole fucking thing. It's going to be weird. I don't know where this is all going to land here in like 2 weeks. I'm curious to see where it all lands in a couple weeks. But for a lot of people, like RFK was worth looking into as a third alternative.
Sure.
And I know I've been screaming third party for years and years and years. I'm just here to tell you, you do have other choices. If you want to put your vote somewhere, great.
There's numbers pointing to him being Ross Perot levels of
interesting
of interference right now.
And I mean, does the guy have a shot at winning? Probably not. And like, is everybody going to blame him for whoever loses? Probably. But again, I've always said that, like, I don't think voting is supposed to be like a horse race, like you're trying to pick the winner and then jump on that bandwagon. I think you're supposed to just put it wherever you feel like it's most well deserved. Vote with a little bit of like courage. And who knows how this is going to shake out. But let's say here in a week or so, Trump comes out with this big kumbaya speech, and he's acts like he's had a change of heart, and he's like, Joe Biden's my buddy, made the best man win, kind of a thing. Like, and all of a sudden we get this new flavor to this crazy fucking fight. Are you going to buy that? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, fair. I think given the near-death experience, I'm far more inclined to buy it. That said, I'll believe it more as time goes on, and if the rhetoric on both sides doesn't change given a couple weeks or month or so, especially post-election, whoever wins, if the rhetoric doesn't change. I also think that we still need to take it with a grain of salt, because the person that Joe Biden chose as his vice president, who he's defended as being capable of doing the job should the worst ever happen to him, is also somebody that said some pretty horrific things to and about him when they were debating each other to get the Democratic nominee in the first place back in 2020. So we just need to keep in mind that everyone stabs each other in the back in politics in the first place, and then kisses a bunch of ass in order to move forward with smiles. So
100%. And let's not forget, like no matter how much you get behind somebody, one of these candidates or whatever, let's remember the lesson we learned from the noble Saint Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, who said, like, you know, when he was fresh out of college, he worked for several political offices. And really, at the end of the day, it's about the manipulation of power and who's going to get who's going to scratch whose back. And so don't get too involved in it, man. I really think that how you act in your community is important, how you act towards your neighbor. And I know that sounds like some hippie shit. And but really, like, there's not a lot you can do to these fucking egomaniac, like, eccentric billionaires, and like, you just can't affect them day to day. Like, but you can definitely affect like how you act towards the people in your community, and the change you try to evoke. So let's just remember, like, don't be a dick to everybody. You know, like no matter what they think or how they vote or their reasoning for all this kind of stuff. Like, I was told that we needed to turn the TV off at work because when they were showing Biden's press conference about the assassination attempt, because the guys are going to argue over it. And I was just thinking, man, like, imagine being that beholden to something that's not even your opinion. It's like an allegiance to somebody that would cause you to argue with your coworker.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, something's fucked up there. But, you know, whatever. I mean, we'll see where it all goes. But, and we, you know, again, sorry if anybody didn't want to hear about fucking politics, but this is kind of I told him, like, this is sort of escaped the realm of politics. This is kind of a historical event.
Yep.
Like, former president almost assassinated, the craziest political race of our time. First political race post-pandemic. I mean, like, you know, something's fucking on.
Yeah, 100%.
So we're just, again, Beacon House is always, we've always tried to be kind of like a mirror to whatever's going on in society. I know that we, all through the pandemic, we did a lot of fucking episodes. We were confused, like, what's going on? We had a lot of opinions. Some of those opinions changed, but we're just trying to react honestly in the moment to give people something to think about. Also to open the conversation.
True.
Like, that's sort of been the purpose of this podcast from the beginning, is just to fucking start the conversation.
Yeah, just allow people to have their opinions and let there be civil discourse and common decency amongst all things. Do not order furniture from Wayfair. It's turned out that Casey was not joking. And yeah, so just like in a world where politics and media has been a bloodbath, to quote a friend of mine, for so long that it almost feels like just you wake up every day and you're in a slaughterhouse. Like, what we really need to do is try and, like, tone everything down. I scratch your back, you scratch my back, and at worst have everything be soft, like a slaughterhouse, like just softer. Which, you know, oh, sorry, that's a terrible segue to potentially the next episode where we are going to review Slaughterhouse, which is a very special movie.
Listen, we've seen some movies, and I don't want to just dump them in here at the end of this episode.
No, because that's a bad call. But
like, yes, there's a movie called Slaughterhouse. Yes, like a sloth, Slaughterhouse, and I had the pleasure of meeting the director, the writer director, and I got a cool T-shirt, and we'll talk about it. You can rent it for very little money, right? Or you can buy it for very little money.
It is well worth your time.
I think so.
Truly.
It's corny. I mean, but look, it's also magical. It's magical it's magical in the way that like Psycho Gorman was magical. But there's a few
Hard
others.
disagree, but yeah.
There's a few others that we want to see. I still want to see. I haven't seen Long Legs. I haven't seen Maxine.
This gives us a chance to maybe see Long Legs before
we do another one and we get horror movies going.
possibly next
I did
week,
see
maybe.
Late Night with the Devil. I'd like to talk about that. Godzilla -1. I saw that, and I hear it's coming out in black and white. It's a
yeah,
whole
it did.
other thing.
It's out on black and white.
I
on
was
Netflix.
blown away at how good it was, and I feel like you have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, you should watch the black and white, dude. It was frame by frame recolored. They didn't just put a filter on it.
Oh, I can't wait. I think it'll be so magical to see it that way. But there's a bunch of stuff I want to see coming out. Maybe even, I don't know when we're going to get back here, but maybe even the Alien Romulus. Like, there's some exciting things coming out.
Oh man, that's going to be sick.
Some very exciting things coming out before actual Halloween season. So, like, we're talking about like summer horror kind of a thing going on.
Yeah, Halloween in July.
Yeah, dude. So, thanks for listening to us blither on about this election and this assassination. And
If you need a palate cleanser, watch Slaughterhouse. There's not a way to not enjoy it. It's entertaining. It's funny. It's
it'll shut the brain down. For
oddly
sure.
sincere.
Oddly sincere.
Despite the indie nature of it, and it's a super indie movie. Like to be fair
indie.
to the director, because I know you met him.
Yeah.
Guy, if you ever listen to this, like I'm truly blown away by how good it looked.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look like a giant movie, but
and,
it
you know,
looks way bigger than it was.
We'll do a shout out to him when we actually get the episode up, where we kind of break some of the the magical moments of Slaughterhouse. But the guy said, he goes, look, obviously, he gestured to the shirt and like they had a big banner. He goes, obviously, there's kind of a tongue in cheek thing here. He goes, but I want you to know, like, we approached every shot, every single thing, like we approached it with the sincerity you would approach any movie. Like, we really went for it, and we were a low budget, but like we really, really tried.
It genuinely shows.
Yeah, like, it looks like they put some effort into it.
Yeah.
And the jokes land. To me, the jokes landed. You know, like they didn't try to make the sloth look real. And
Yeah.
that made it more magical. Anyway,
The sloth broke my heart. I know we're dipping too many toes into review, so we need to stop. But like that was the biggest surprise to me. Like as silly as that movie is, last word on it, I promise. We'll do a proper review soon. As silly as that movie was, as just mind-numbingly entertaining as it is, which is what its purpose was, I genuinely had heartbreak for the sloth puppet, and I can't.
was it the part where, what broke your heart, Hunter? Was it the part where the sloth takes a selfie with its victims, or it drove the Corvette?
It was the fact that it was driving a Corvette. I thought the selfies were in poor taste, but there's no way that thing's feet.
People have listened to this going, they're fucking with us. We're
You guys should just watch Slaughter.
Yeah, dude, we're not. Some shit really happened.
Oh man,
I like the.
It may be better than the dirt.
It really touched me when the sloth sunbathed with the other members of the sorority.
I did like that rainforest ending.
People are going to be
Always
listening to this going, what the fuck is this movie?
Yeah.
Like, when you just drop little drops of Slaughterhouse, it sounds like the most incredible odyssey of all time.
It's Black Christmas, but taking place not at Christmas time and with a Jim Henson puppet as the killer.
Yeah. Which also kind of reminds me of this election cycle, too.
Yeah.
Hey-o. Well, I guess we'll see you guys next time. Try not to kill each other, and don't let the news fuck you up, okay? That's Hunter from Burn the City. Also, yeah, please check out Burn the City, too. We've been out of the public eye for a minute.
And we will be for a while longer because we're doing some cool stuff.
Can we tell them anything about what?
I don't think we can. I think we kind of swore everybody to secrecy.
Everybody knows we're working on a record.
Yeah, everybody knows we're working on a record.
Some of it's been heard.
Very fast.
Some of it's been two of the songs have been heard live. Been performed live, yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Not at the last show was one, but before that we did another one. We played it live.
Yeah. Yeah, only two so far. But yeah, it's shaping up really cool. There's more lore, there's more story.
And we're not supposed to say that there's a story, but there's a story, and it's so fucking good. I'm so into it.
It's darker than anything we've done before.
Yes.
Not only in subject matter, but sound, and we're also doing some experimental stuff like we've not done on any of the other releases. So I'm excited for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, I can't wait. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, when are you guys doing another gig?" And I'm like, I'm not. I don't want to commit to like.
Yeah, we miss playing for you guys already. Like, it actually sucks to not be out there playing. Like, I got real addicted to that during the Battle of the Bands, but we need to be in the bunker.
I will say this: our game. The next time you guys see us live, our game's going to be way elevated. Mm-hmm. We've got some new tricks up our sleeve, and also just like rehearsing and writing these songs to try to get them recorded. It's going to put them on the palette too. So we're going to have all this new stuff. Mm-hmm. There's going to be dynamics on this. I know we're talking about. We're not supposed to, but like there's going to be like acoustic. Like
don't say too much.
You're going to get to hear Hunter really without all of us clamoring and banging around. Like, I mean, there's going to be some real touching moments, I think, but also fucking scary. Like,
Again, it's going to be different from what we've done before. I will say, as a final note on that, the thing that I'm excited to hear what all of you guys outside of the band think, but I genuinely think, not to sound like a standard like promo of the new stuff bandmate, I genuinely think that this sounds unlike anything we've ever done before, but not like we lost our identity. Like everything we have feels like Burn the City. It feels right in place with all the other releases and what we've been doing, but it also doesn't sound like any of that stuff. Yeah, and I don't know how else to describe it without revealing too much.
I agree too, and I will tell you this, man. If you would have told me at any age before this, 20, 30, whatever, that like I would be nearly 50 years old and I would be extremely like involved in the most functional, most visionary band that of my entire life, I would have thought that's crazy. Like there's by then aren't things supposed to wind? At 50, aren't you? And again, I'm not.
You're not 50. Go ahead.
I'm close to 50, but I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with like how anybody appreciates music, but I'm just like, I just thought that I would, it's not supposed to still be cranking up and getting better and better and better. Mm-hmm, and it's just still, it's louder. Like I don't know, man. Like it's very exciting. Like I can't wait to see where it goes. But I think I can't get over just like how cool like the subject matter is, like the stories and the like, oh man. Anyway, you guys are really in for it. So even if this year gets you down, the fucking heat wave we've had, 2024 has been kind of a turd.
It's been awful.
It's been awful. Like our friend, shout out our friend Shauna, her mom's house. She lost her house. It's just been rough for a lot of reasons. I had I had a terrible knee problem, all like a surgery, and the recovery slow and painful, and just I
was injured at the show.
Yeah, I mean,
that's putting it dramatic, but
everything's been a turd. But hang in there.
There's new music coming.
Burn the City will rise from the ashes.
And while you wait, you can watch Slaughterhouse.
I love that he keeps cycling back. I wore my Slaughterhouse shirt just to remind you to say it.
It's worth every penny and every minute.
Well, there you have it. See you guys next time.